Greetings, and welcome to today's episode of Speak, the Universe Listens. And today's topic is same place, different space. So this topic I think is a little interesting because I had noticed over time that sometimes I can talk to someone and it sounds like we're talking about the same thing. And then I realized that they're in a different space than I'm in. So almost we're using the exact same words, but it's like they have totally different meanings. Has anyone experienced something like that?
Yeah. I think the first thing that instantly comes to my mind is in a workplace. I could be in the same place as like somebody else in the workplace, but I have a completely different experience. And then I will leave that workplace, and then like I look back and I go, no, I just wasn't in the right mental space at the time. Like now when I'm able to remove myself from it and then come back into the situation, it's like, oh, I see how you saw it that way now. I just wasn't there mentally, but we were in the same space.
Okay, yeah. So that's interesting because I wasn't conceptualizing it that way. But now that you've said it like that, I always had these situations that would happen with my husband, right? So we can hear the exact same thing, and he would take it one way, and I would take it the other way. Right. And I would be like, the person didn't say this, they say that. And he's like, no, they say this. Right. And I'm just like, why? And I remember being at the airport one time, and I used to wear this shirt, it say SEAL Team, because that was the name of my exercise group. So the person at the security guard, he was like, oh, you got on your son's shirt? And I was like, no, this is my shirt, And so he was like, well, if you can wear it, it's your shirt. You got it on. So something. The way he was saying it, right. I interpreted that he was saying, there's no way you could be on the SEAL team, but you wearing the shirt, so you're inviting criticism. So that's how I took it. And my husband took it like the guy was saying, well, if you all of that, hey, you know what I'm saying? Like, like you're the woman. And I'm just like, how did we hear the same thing and take it two different ways? But really, I guess it was kind of mindset, I was in a different space, right? Yeah.
It's just like, the number 6. And, I seen something on, I think it was like on social media, and they had the number 6. And so it's almost like you had one person on the other side and then the other person on the other side. So two people looking at it differently. So one person looks at it as a 9 and the other person looks at it as a 6. But it's the exact same, it's the same thing, but it's just coming from two different perspectives on how they view it. I thought that was pretty interesting. I could say for me, I had that experience before. I had somebody, as far as work related, they were telling me how they wanted something done, and I understood what they were saying, but I took it differently from how it was, I guess, supposed to be. But it was the same thing. I just sort of took it differently from how they were telling me.
Yeah, I think that's common in the work. Even with when I used to experience a lot of times, like people say, yeah, this person is such and such. Like they always talking aggressive, or they may seem like they being smart or something. I'm like, no, I don't quite see them saying like that. I might just see them as, a serious person, or something like that. Like we all got different lenses that we looking through, so it's all different perspectives.
Yeah. So and that is a good conversation, but that ain't what I was talking about.
I know
but Tehran took us there.
But actually, I guess technically it is kind of similar to what I was saying. But what I realized is, I guess when it's an obvious shift from the way I used to think to the way that I think now. And even though I could use almost the exact same words to describe both phenomenal, but I'm literally in a different space. So, or like for maybe this might be a good example, I'm not sure. So, for example, I had said something to the effect of you have to choose happiness and you can just choose it anytime you want. And so someone else was like, it's not possible to be happy all the time. Like, how can you be happy when these bad things are happening? And I'm like, no, I can be happy doing that. And so, but basically he's like, how can you look out into the world, see these bad things and still be happy? That's not possible. And I'm saying, yeah, I can be happy doing that. So it's like we in the same place. We're looking at the same thing, but how we interpret it, how we feel about it is two totally different things. So I guess that's kind of what we've been saying. But I think I'm taking it a step to the left a little bit. Look to the left a little bit. So first of all, let me see. Does any of you know what I mean?
I do. I think for me, just thinking of the title, the space, right? You coming from, what was the same space, different place? Correct? Flip it. Yeah, that's what I bet. So for me, when I think about that, I think about, let's say, at one time I was gone for a whole year. I left Richmond, right? And I felt like I had to get away in order to get my thoughts together and just get me together for my own spiritual journey. So when I was away from home, I was in a different space, and it felt so good. And I felt like my mind was wired as to where I had to move from home in order to have peace. And when I came back home, I realized that basically that same peace that I felt when I was away, I can have that right back home. It was just the way that I was viewing it. So, you know, so that's what I think about when you say that.
That's the perfect example. As a matter of fact, that's the example I told you.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of a saying I heard once. It always comes up when somebody's like, yeah, you know, I got to get away. Somebody will say like, well, you know, you take you with you. And so that's kind of like what rings in my mind when I hear that. It's like I can go anywhere I want to go, but until I change my space, the place doesn't matter.
Exactly.
I can be here, like, okay, if I'm down here, I can go to Barbados and still be down. It's me that needs to pick up, not the location.
And so, but why is it that if you went to Barbados, most likely you would pick up your energy?
No, instantly I would think because things slow down, one, and then two, when you're away, I think you feel the possibility to disconnect is a lot easier, so you're able to become more in tune with everything else and actually sit and feel everything else, versus when you're living your everyday life, it's kind of hard to get out the hustle and bustle because you're so used to just doing your routine.
Yeah, and so I think that's the exact point that I want to make. So when you go to Barbados, why are we using Barbados? So when you go to Barbados, when you go to that place where you can just be free, you feel like it's the place. You feel like it's Barbados, and you feel like it's the beach or the mountaintop or whatever. If you go there, then you feel free. But when you're at home, you don't feel that same thing. And so you start feeling like, I have to go away to get this. When really, there's a way to bring that wherever you are.
I remember, y'all tell me if this is on the same thing, but I remember growing up, my mom was a single mother of 3, so it was kind of like, and I had twin brother and sister, so it's kind of like, I was always away from home at other family member houses because my mom worked at the school, and I started to like being away from home more than home. And so as I got older, it was still the same way. And now, like these days, in recent years, I'm finding comfort in being at home.
Yeah.
Because I fell in love with never being home because I never was, growing up. So now, like as an adult, I'm just finding comfort in, relaxing at home and finding peace in my home.
I could say for me, something that caught my attention was that I was sort of like, I felt like when I was getting away, I was running away from my problems or my issues that I felt like I had at home. And when I was away, none of that really even mattered to me anymore because I felt like I was free. I was escaping it. And, like I said earlier, coming back, I felt like I was, stuck, back to my problems that I had going on or my issues. But the thing that I had to recognize was that I had to take that energy when I was away, and I had to sort of think about my attention as far as like what I was thinking then, how I felt, and bringing that with me home. And that just sort of like made me realize, and it was sort of a struggle a little bit, but it sort of made me realize that when I'm home, I can still be at peace. I don't have to run away.
Exactly.
I don't have to run away from go somewhere else to get away from my problems. So that sort of helped me just sort of face my issues or what I had going on at home. And I figured out that, I can create my peace wherever I'm at. I don't have to go somewhere else to get peace.
Right. And like I think what Teron was saying about how when you go away, you kind of release stuff, right? And you use the word freedom. It's like a freedom. And so you're right, when we're here, we feel stuck and in a box and like we don't have freedom. Right. We have to do things this way. When you go away, you like give up all that resistance. And so to learn how to give up that resistance and to feel free wherever you are. And like you say, it does take practice though, because I really experienced this, because when I went away, I had the exact same experience that Stephen had. And everything was lovely, and then I come back to Richmond, and it's like, it's like stress, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go back. And so I'm realizing that, that same thing, I can have it here, but how? How do I create that here? And then just being in the practice of, feeling free and slowing down, and maybe I don't have to react to every single thing, and maybe I don't have to get in an uproar about every little thing that happens. Like just give up that resistance.
A lot of times when we home, we don't take the time to just step back, and just remove yourself for a second. But when we on vacation or whatever the case may be, those things are not directly in your face. And so sometimes we gotta, just step back from the table a little bit and take some time and, step back from those pressing things that's happening.
And like for me now, the way I conceptualize it is like, what is the highest perspective I can take? So it's so easy to do the knee-jerk reaction to stuff, but if I stay in a place of not being judgmental, which I don't stay there, but I'm practicing staying in a space of being non-judgmental, and instead of looking at it the way I would have looked at it, to try to look at it from a place of love. And so the more I can do that, look at things from the highest perspective, and remember that that person or that thing, that's still divinity. If I can keep that in my head, then I come at the situation from a totally different space, and it feels different in my body.
Yeah, wow. It's kind of like going to your happy place to being your happy place. It's more so like the realization that I can create that feeling that I feel here, I can create it in me, and then it can just be with me everywhere.
Exactly.
And sometimes, like, even throughout the day, when I sort of feel a little bit overwhelmed, and you know, I feel like, heck, I need a vacation. You know, I got to step back for a second, and you know, I just take some deep breaths and just meditate to myself. I can do it in my car. 9 times out of 10, that's where I'm at. But just to sort of remind myself that, you know, I already have peace, and just sort of find that gratitude, you know.
Another reminder that we can always remind ourselves is that we connected to everything.
Right.
So that same peace and feeling you got over here,
Yeah.
you can connect yourself to it from home.
Right.
Yeah, wow. I guess I could put myself in, if grasping the concept of I can be the peace, I guess I could just keep imagining myself in that place, and I would be subconsciously doing that.
Right, like if your peaceful place is the beach, here in the water,
Right.
you can close your eyes and go there every day.
Every day, exactly.
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 And that's definitely part of my practice. And so I don't have to do it anymore, but when I was in a place where I had to practice bringing that to here, I literally, because it was right by my house in Barbados, it was a lighthouse. And so I lived on Lighthouse Lane, so it was a big lighthouse, and but when I would go to the beach, I could look and see the lighthouse, and a lot of times that's where the rainbow in the morning would be right over the lighthouse. And so whenever I was here feeling a certain way, I would picture the rainbow over the lighthouse, and that would automatically bring me back.
Instantly.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I hear people say, well, it was easy for you to go to a place and find your peace. You know, like you're able to go away and sit on the beach for years and do that. But I don't have that privilege, or I'm not able to do that. So how can we find our peace right here in our everyday life?
I would say for me, one thing I would recommend for anybody is think about that place that brings you peace when you're away from home. And if you can think about that peace while you're at home, then that will sort of get you in that space of where you need to be.
Yeah, I would say also remember that we're connected to everything, and you know, so connect to how you would feel on that perfect vacation or that honeymoon without the kids, or you know, something like that. I would say just connect to it and visualize it.
Yeah, and I think I would kind of echo those sentiments. First, I would kind of think about the things that you really enjoy when you are at that place that you feel is your happy place. And if pulling those characteristics too hard, then you just got to return to your childhood and just dig into your imagination and imagine you're in that spot. Because when you're imagining that you're there, you're going to invoke all those feelings that you feel there. And it's like a fake it till you make it thing.
I like that.
Yeah. And I would just add that just always question yourself. Like, am I coming from my highest perspective? So whatever's going on in your life, is there a different way you can view it? Because like I said, there's so many times, and I was easily able to compare how I view things versus how my husband viewed things. And he always had these wonderful, the way he viewed the world was just so wonderful and loving, and everybody in the world was like supporting you. And the way I viewed the world was like everybody's trying to, you know, do something to harm me. So like however you view the world, that's going to be your experience, obviously. And so if I'm going around viewing the world like, oh, the world is out to get me,
Right.
look at the total different life that I have than my husband, who's viewing the world like everybody's out to support me. And I was just so lucky to be able to be a witness to us hearing the exact same words, and then hearing how he's conceptualizing what's just been said versus how I'm conceptualizing it. So just being aware that the way you see it, is there a different way that you can see it, and what's the highest perspective that you can come from that? All right. Thank you all for joining us this week, and we look forward to chatting with you again next week. And thank you guys for being here today.
Thank you.
All right. Until next time, this is Arvette.
And this is Steve.
Rodney.
And Teron.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.